Now, Pavarotti was a good friend.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti. I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions and I'm not here to slander. So let's get started. You know, something I've always wondered, never really had the answer to. I know there's been some speculation out there, but since these young ladies that were in this atrocity all lived together in that house on King Road, it's always been kind of a question in my mind is, how did they all end up together? I mean, we know that Kaylee and Maddie grew up together and they were best of friends. But what about Xana and Ethan, or Dylan or Bethany? Still not too sure about the Dylan or Bethany angle, but how did Xana end up there? I mean, she was younger than Kaylee and Maddie, older than Dylan. So I guess that has always been a question on my mind I've speculated many times that the mother and the stepmother were the reasons for the atrocity without ever really thinking, how do the girls connect? I mean, did they meet at the college, or did they already know each other? And it got me to thinking, maybe I need to do a little digging and figure out this connection. Because I've also been looking for a long time for the connection between TF and TR to the mother and stepmother. And after a while, I did realize something. Not really, I realized it from the beginning, but just never really brought it up. I have brought it up in my private member discussions and my member videos. Never have brought it up on YouTube. Because as I have explained this case for so long now in so many ways, many times I'm hit with the question, it doesn't make sense, Mr. Pavarotti, because Ms. Hatrock is the stepmother. And she had children of her own. So why would they hurt her stepdaughter? And I've never really wanted to answer that question. But now that I have almost completed my entire investigation into this case, I'm going to go ahead and give you my opinion. This is my speculation, okay? You see, in the world, even in the criminal world, but in the world in general, many times when a person is married, the husband has to take full responsibility for actions of his wife. And that's just the way things were for a long time. These days, they're kind of getting away from that. But for a long time, that's how things were. I can assure you, in the criminal world, things still work that way. So, for example, when you have a gentleman who is married to a woman, and that woman is out doing illicit substances, chances are her husband knows exactly what she's doing. Chances are he's engaging in those acts with her. But when it goes as far as allowing his wife to transport narcotics, and when I say narcotics, I mean that her charge was possession of a Schedule II drug with intent to deliver. What that means is not that they thought she was going to sell it. You see, with intent to deliver, it's based on the amount of narcotics that you have on you. So, for it to be considered intent to deliver, that means she had over 28 grams. In Idaho, this is how the statute works. It's 28 to 200 grams of Schedule II drug. That's METH. Okay? So when she was arrested, she had over 28 grams, but less than 200. We don't know the amount. It could have been 199 grams. I mean, she had a significant amount on her. And if she was sentenced for the sentence she should have been sentenced for that crime, she would have, the mandatory minimum is 3 years. So, but by her doing that, you can almost be certain that her husband knew what she was doing. And the scary thing is, he may have even allowed her to do it so that she would be the one taking the risk and not him, thinking that she would be less conspicuous, I'm sure. But to the perpetrators involved, it doesn't matter if he took the stuff himself and got arrested or he allowed his wife to do it. Either way, he's responsible. See, a man's responsible for the actions of his wife, whether you want to believe it or not, folks. And if she was thinking about turning evidence on someone, well, he, as her husband, would have to approve something like that. So the people involved, again, regardless if he did it or she did it, they're going to hold him responsible for even her actions, I assure you. So when we talk about the mother and the stepmother, just know I've always considered the mother and her father. Stepmother's just a pawn in the game. And then you have to sit back and you start to think, okay, what correlates in this? She was caught with over 28 grams of METH. The mother in the case, when she was arrested, she was caught with over 28 and less than 200 grams of METH. So we know that the mother and the stepmother, the father, they're both transporting at the very least, METH. So we know when we look around for other things to correlate this crime to, we're looking for people who have been charged with possessing or delivering or trafficking, guess what? METH. Because those are the people that they're dealing with. So keeping all that in mind, I began to really ponder. Where are they from? Where do they all live? What's going on where they live? And that's when my focus shifted, not from who all they knew, but to where they lived and who lived with them or near them. And that's where I got on to Coeur d'Alene. And let me show you something you may find interesting. So what we have here is an extended view of eastern Washington and western Idaho. And you can see on this map, I have marked Spokane, Washington. And then you'll see over there, I have Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And then as you go way down south there, you'll see we have Moscow and Pullman. So we just need to take a closer look, I think, up there in Coeur d'Alene. Now, you can see this is the city of Coeur d'Alene, located on a pretty lake. Its population is 56,000 people. Now you'll notice I have a green circle there in the middle of Coeur d'Alene with an arrow pointed to it. After doing some digging, this is a close-up version of that space with the arrow was pointed to. But after doing some digging, I figured out that at one point in time, Ben Mogan lived right where he is pictured on the map. And I can only assume that Maddie lived with him there at least part of the time. So, okay, so that's interesting. Then I found out that at a certain period of time, Kara Knodel lived right there in Coeur d'Alene. And I'm certain that Xana stayed with her at least some of the time. Then you'll see at the bottom Miss Corey Hatrock, and she lived there. And right near Kara's house, you'll find the Gonzalez lived right there, and I'm pretty sure that Kaylee lived there with them. So all of them lived within 1.5 to 3 miles of each other in a strange little triangle right there in the center of Coeur d'Alene. So I guess now we know how Kaylee and Maddie were so close. They obviously went to the same school. I would think that at some time, maybe even Xana went to school with them. I mean, it would seem that if they all lived that close in that small of a town, that everybody would have known each other. And we do know through Facebook messages that Kara Knodel and Corey Hatrock were friends because they communicated through Facebook, and we've all seen those communications. And of course, Corey and Ben are together. So it's just kind of interesting that when you look at an extended picture, we have 3 of the victims in the atrocity all lived within a couple of miles from each other at one point in Coeur d'Alene, and they all ended up at the University of Idaho. But not only that, they ended up in the exact same house in the University of Idaho. And it's just very strange that that close of a tie and a random person picked them to commit an atrocity against, versus maybe something was going on in Coeur d'Alene that led to this atrocity. You see, when I weigh those two things out, it makes me think that the Coeur d'Alene angle weighs a little heavier. So that's when I began to think I've been looking in the wrong place. Coeur d'Alene most likely holds the keys to this case. So I've shifted my focus and investigation to the town of Coeur d'Alene. And that's when everything opened up for me. So with Coeur d'Alene being the key to this, I then used that key to do some more investigating to see if I could unlock more doors. And man, oh man, did I unlock some doors. And then other doors opened, and then I began to look at other things, and I'll be danged if other doors didn't open. And it all led back to Coeur d'Alene. Because when you start to look at other people involved in this case, then you have to just start digging into their past and figure out who used to live in Coeur d'Alene. And once you do that, then you start coming across some things, like old Pavarotti did. And those things are going to be coming to you real soon. But until then, please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms. Till next time, Pavarotti's out.